have many of those.
Only 21.
Is this angle?
Place for it or you're out of room?
I feel like we can fit one more in, hopefully.
Fit one more in?
Yeah.
What happens when you're out?
We got a new trophy case last year.
Yeah.
To put a lot of other stuff in, and that filled up pretty quick too. So.
That's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Build a new place like the Cabela Center out there.
Yeah.
You guys all good? All right, we'll just start with the opening statement from Coach and then open up for questions.
Sure. Well, happy to be here, obviously. It's been a long season, but obviously another successful one. Super proud of the team for all of their hard work this year. Every year is different, brings different challenges and different rewards, but it was a really good group that worked super hard all year. And even NCAA's didn't come without its challenges, and another sort of second day comeback, as it were. But yeah, we're excited to obviously win another championship. Those things, we don't take those for granted, and I know a lot of people talk about that, but every year is special, super special for me to have the family there. I know JP's family were there as well, so special for him. But yeah, excited that it's also over. We can get a little bit of a break, and then you kind of build towards next year as well. So
you mentioned special. What makes this one special compared to the others?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to differentiate between them, but it's, sports is such a, kind of what do you do for me now type world. Like when every season starts, the last season doesn't really matter anymore, and so I think there's always that pressure to continue doing things. I don't know this one specifically over other ones. I think last year was really special because we hadn't won for so long, and so you start doubting what you're doing or how the sport is changing. But I do remember from before, defending a title is really difficult, and I think this year too, we weren't just trying to beat one team. I mean, every team that was at NCAA's was competitive. As we saw after the first day, the top 5 teams were, barely separated. Any one of those 5 teams could have won. So it really took a incredible performance on that second day for us to win. So, lots of things to go right, but just really satisfying having that type of performance at NCAA's.
When you put this roster together, what was the questions that you had? What that led you to think, well, okay, we can maybe repeat, or this needs to happen? What things had to happen?
It's a good question. I think throughout the year, they all had to just, I think maybe continue to get better and push. I think we lost 2 incredible team members last year, and so it was maybe just who's going to fill that gap. We're always a team that likes to have depth, that we start the year thinking, okay, we've got a number of, we don't just have 3 or 4 good shooters and we've got to find a 5th. Like, we have more than 5 that are capable of competing at championships, and so that itself, it can be stressful for JP and myself just figuring out who we're going to take. But I think we were able to do that. Ones that were here from last year continued to get better. Newcomers came in and helped the team. And still kind of a fairly young group. From the 5 that were there, they're all returning. I say young maybe in college terms, but they're actually age-wise, we probably had the highest average age, I would imagine, of teams there. But I think that helps with just the maturity and experience too.
You mentioned pressure. Do you see kids put pressure on themselves, like when they see 20 trophies or last year's trophy? Or
I don't know. I think pressure takes different forms. I think kids these days put expectations on themselves. I don't know if it's walking past a trophy case and seeing all the trophies, but I think they put a lot of their self-worth on how they perform. Social media is a challenge with that, of how many likes and how many things pop up from there. I think I've heard this from former team members. Current ones don't usually talk about it, but just others have felt like sort of just the pressure of like, we're at West Virginia, we kind of expect to win, and that's a hard one too. It doesn't matter what school you're representing, there shouldn't be any additional pressure to. There's lots of good shooters around the country now, but I think just this expectation from friends, parents, just outside sources. I think their biggest challenge is blocking out the distractions and just coming into practice every day and working hard, and then when they go and compete, just to some degree competing for themselves and just trying to be, we talk about being present a lot, just focusing on themselves and not feeling all the other emotions that can come in.
Jon, each one of those trophies that you walk past has a story.
Yeah.
You walk by, something that pops into your mind. When you look at that trophy and you think of this team, what is the story of this team?
Oh, that's a good question too. I think maybe some resilience.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably different stories throughout the year of just how the year has progressed and the things that we've done. I think if we're talking about that trophy, which is really, that happens at NCAAs, I think just a lot of character for them to come back on that second day and just, shoot an unbelievable air rifle team score that was, no one in particular. 3 of them shot .599, almost a perfect score. Cameron was a .598, and even Lowry shot an incredible match. Struggled a little bit at the end, but he also shot a really solid match too. And so just that, I think maybe that depth and consistency. But all of them, we talked to them the night before, obviously, like, hey, we've, it wasn't our best day on day one, but hey, we're still in it. We're only 3 points back. Run through some mindfulness and some visualization, and we're trying to take the pressure off to just say, hey, go shoot freely and how you can compete. But there's still a lot of time between 7 p.m. and whenever they shoot the next day, and there's a lot of time for them to get messages from friends and family or think about what it would be like to win or kind of obsess over their match that day if it didn't go how they wanted. And so they still have to manage their thoughts for, 12 hours or so and come back the next day and put that behind them and get out on that stage and perform. So
they almost had to be perfect
the
next day.
Yeah.
And they were.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and you could see it, I think they got that perfect balance of, they were definitely ready and focused, but there was maybe a little, it was more a focused energy than a nervous energy, kind of like a focused, determined mindset. They all went out there and had to work through those matches, and I don't think any of them were super comfortable during the match, but they didn't let, those other voices and those other thoughts win and stuck to their task and performed amazingly.
I'm sure you were super comfortable during the match.
Yeah, no. It's been a while since I've worn a heart rate monitor or had my Fitbit from back in the day, but it is, it's a long 2 days, and, JP and I, obviously have plenty of time to sit there and talk, and he definitely felt like he would rather be up there competing rather than watching. And it's hard. You're somewhat powerless at that point. Like, you've kind of put in all the work throughout the year, and you have to let them go and perform. And we're there if they need anything, and some of them like to take breaks and things like that. But for the most part, you got to sit back and watch, and not the most comfortable thing for sure. It's kind of, I said it, probably with Kevin, I think sometimes the biggest emotion at the end for me is just relief that it's over, and obviously a satisfaction from, being able to win, and obviously it's disappointment when you don't, but also kind of okay, we can breathe and, relax a little bit too.
Along those lines, your sport, if not the most, is one of the most mental focused. Can you just explain what it's like for that release for you individually, but also as a team at the end, when that's at the end of the rainbow for you?
Yeah, I think for them, you saw it. I think, both Jennifer and Oceane were emotional when they finished. And I think a lot of that was just you're working so hard mentally, not just for that hour and a half of competing, but the build up to it, and then it's like, man, that's over. And I think for JP and myself too, it's just, it's hard to sit still. You want to go and pace around, but you're there to coach them. And obviously I'm very aware of our nervous and our energy and disposition is, important for them to lean on as well. But yeah, it's not super comfortable just trying to sit still and, watching them, and you kind of live the match with them of the ups and downs throughout the match that they go through, and you kind of have a good idea of, what they're thinking and how they're managing those emotions. But yeah, I think it's that's like anything, there's, when you put a lot of hard work into something, like it's incredibly satisfying when you finish. And not to get too scientific, that's like the dopamine kicking in at the end when you do something really hard. So yeah, I think definitely a great feeling when it's finished and it's the result that you want to.
You had to push in at the break and talked a little bit about maybe her biggest adjustment would be coming to the U.S. because she is an accomplished international competitor already. How did she progress through this to the point where you are comfortable to say, yep, she's ready to be in the lineup as one of our top 5 down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, I think, she's pretty quiet. So, sometimes, getting a read on how she's doing is hard. But I think she's fit in great. She's incredibly coachable and hardworking. I think she's kind of fit in with her team great as well. I don't think it took us very long to feel comfortable with, knowing that she might be one that would go and shoot NCAAs. I think there's enough. I mean, she just has so much experience of other matches, and she really, I don't think it's even a case of she peaked at the right time. I think just this environment, while it may not be comfortable for her, she's very familiar, with that. And so she shot a personal best in small bore, this season on that second relay, when the team kind of really needed her to, and then had an amazing air rifle match too. And so I think that's a testament to just her being comfortable or being comfortable being uncomfortable, on that stage, and just a competitor that knows how to perform.
You mentioned relief as opposed to joy when you've got 21 of those. You've got 2 in a row now. Give me your mindset. Where was your thought process when you were going through that build-up to get back to these 2? I mean, were you thinking about, okay, am I doing what I need to do? Is the roster what I need? Can I get the quality people that I... Walk me through your thought process there.
Yeah, I mean, I think lots of different thoughts. A lot of, I don't want to say trial and error, but kind of questioning and figuring out. And, I think in simple forms, like other teams got better too. I think it's hard to just maintain. And so I think a lot of it, the NCAA sports are changing. Our sport was changing a little bit. And then I think
In what ways?
Well, I think, what the athletes want. I think, so maybe more in terms of the athletes, but obviously for us, like the transfer portal was new, NIL was coming in. So, we don't know how much schools were necessarily using that. I think maybe I felt like, what a top recruit was looking for was maybe different. I feel like it wasn't, back in the day, it was like, oh, I want to shoot rifle, West Virginia's the best team, I'm going to go there. And I think in the last 10 years, there's a lot more teams with great shooters. So the top recruits were going a lot of different places. Probably were getting better financial offers to go a number of different places. What 17-year-olds prioritize changes. They're all different. Some of them want warmer weather and want to go to the south, or like a campus better, or some of their good friends are on that team and want to go there, and basically things that were really out of our control. And so you kind of, those make you think, okay, what do we need to do? Oftentimes I'm like, man, I wish we had an athlete dorm across the street, and the other campuses do, where they're like, oh, the dorms are right across the street, or the rifle range is right on campus. And but ultimately, those are things you can't control. And if that's what's most important to a recruit, we can't battle that or change that. I think for us, just thinking like how we coached, how we recruited, what type of personality, we recruited. We probably, were trying to find, kids that just were maybe mentally more resilient. but that's hard. There's not really a questionnaire out there that, tells you exactly, there's certain things you can do and certain questions you can ask, but it's challenging.
Well, I mean, when you got this when you took the job, it was a given you were getting the best shooters.
Yeah.
Because Marcia had built that.
Yeah.
Did you have to kind of go back to your roots a little bit, to the beginning when Ed got it built, to kind of get back to where you are now? And what flipped, what turned to get you back to where you are now?
I mean, I think there's always a slow turn, but I'd probably give a lot of credit to JP coming in. Yeah. So this was his 4th year, and he brought a different, energy and just a work ethic and a toughness that he has, and he was part of 5 championships when he was here, so he really knew what they went through. But he's a competitor, and I think Mary coming in here was just the right time as well. She was just incredibly driven and competitive, and I think I knew that would rub off on the rest of the team. And then it maybe just snowballed and built over there of just getting the right mix of recruits and just bringing a bit more resiliency, or pushing them a little bit more in training. I don't want to say working harder, because all our teams have been working harder. It's hard to quantify, but just I think not being scared to compete. We talk with the team a lot of we want them to go and shoot freely. And sometimes the fear of failure is, can be quite big. And I think just once we got to the point where no one on the team had won a championship before, I felt like that built a little bit, and there was still an expectation that it's West Virginia and for that expectation to win, but none of them had experienced that. And I think Mary just came in here with a super confident attitude of like, no, I expect to win. We should expect to win. And while that didn't work, her 2 years here, the second year in the Coliseum, I think we were the best team that year, and just didn't happen on the day. But then you build off of that, and you've still got that sort of dynamic and that atmosphere. So,
do you sense maybe people around here take these for granted a little bit?
I mean, probably. Yeah. Which that's not a bad thing. But yeah, I think it's. It's great. It's wonderful that the team has that sort of recognition and that history of success, and I think and I hope that gives a lot of pride to fans. But yeah, sure, it's like, it's NCAA is the rifle team's going to go win again. It's never that simple, and
these are hard.
They're
hard, aren't they?
For sure. It's and that's the same for every sport, every team, every sport. It's a full year of work, and I think what's harder now is, when we were winning probably 10 years ago, I always felt we were going to NCAAs and be like, if we beat that team, we're going to win. Now it's like, all the teams could have a great day, and especially there's a greater probability for a team to shoot really well when there's all of them are contenders, as it were. So thankfully we had to win it this year. There's been other years where we've other teams have lost it, and we've kind of just done enough. But we really had to go win it this year. So I think that makes it extra satisfying as well.
John, going back to your competitive days at Leeds, looks like you got started early helping coach and develop other people. Was that what planted the seeds for you as a coach, or did it go back even further? Or what was it that attracted you to it?
I don't know. I don't think there was anything necessarily too early on. I think I loved the sport. When I was on the team, I loved obviously coming over here and being a college athlete and being able to continue my sport. But I think I really grew in love with just college athletics, WVU. There's just a different passion than there is back home. I mean, really like sports at universities in Great Britain and probably mostly through Europe, it's kind of like club sports here. It doesn't have that. You walk around on campus here. I mean, I noticed it right away. Like everyone's wearing, West Virginia gear, flying WV. Like even people around Morgantown and all around the country, like college athletics, just so many people follow it. So it creates that passion. And then I think before I kind of fed off that or learned that, and worked for a few years before I started coaching, but I think it wasn't necessarily the coaching. It was really just wanting to be a part of college athletics for myself, being able to train again and hopefully compete, which I was able to do. And honestly, it probably took me, 5-10 years into the job to really go, oh, wow, I actually really enjoy this. Like this is, I feel like this is, not that I didn't enjoy it to start, but I feel like, at the beginning I was an athlete that was also a coach to pay the bills and allow myself to do that. And after 5-10 years, as I was finishing up competing, I think I felt more like, okay, this is, I feel my identity more as a coach that's still competing a little bit on the side. But there's just so many things you don't know when you start. I didn't think I was had this, calling or anything to coach. But I think once you do it for 10 years and, it maybe takes really, honestly, when you start a full 6 or so years to go through a full cycle of, getting to know a recruit junior, senior year of high school, recruiting them, getting to know their family. They go through 4 years of college, they graduate, and like a year or two later, they're, in the real world with a job, and often they have a greater appreciation once they've left and things like that. And so once you start, seeing that a handful of times and going through it, it's very rewarding to be a part of their journey and their lives doing those things too.
What was your job that you worked in between?
I was down at Pete Dye at the golf tournament when the nationwide tournament was there back in the day.
Would that have been something you might have gravitated to?
For sure. I mean, I liked working there. When I did a sport management master's here at WVU, and I think once I was in that, I definitely decided I wanted to work in the sports industry some way, somehow. And sure, at one point I was like, oh, maybe, go work for the PGA Tour and do something like that, and different opportunities arise. So
When you got started, you had a bunch of those, and then it kind of dried up. And then, you've got 2, and I see a lot of fingerprints on that,
yeah.
which is kind of, it's analogous of, it takes everybody to do that. Where does this fit in the satisfaction level in terms of you won a bunch, and then you had the dry spell, and then you kind of got it back?
Yeah, I mean, this is big. I think it's very satisfying. Like you said, maybe not like the, pure joy of winning that first championship, but definitely, yeah, that deeper satisfaction of, hey, we had to go through a lot. A lot of the fingerprints might be my own kids rather than team members, but that's a different level too of being able to share that with them, and I think maybe it's the first year that my oldest really followed and understood, and the first one that they've all come to and been a part of. So yeah, I mean that's super satisfying, and I think as you get older, you appreciate things more, and you realize the hard work that does go into it, and I think like all sports, we basically work towards one weekend of the year, and so it's nicer in the summer when it's a little bit quieter, and then the season starts, and the end of the season feels a long way away, and then suddenly January rolls around and you're like, whoa, we're like 8-9 weeks away from the end, and it just builds up, gets closer. So you just, at the end, it's just, a lot of satisfaction of all that work that did pay off, and being able to reflect, and then pretty soon you move on to the next year as well.
You mentioned earlier the uneasy feeling going into day 2 and as part of day 2, but as you've also mentioned, not the first time you guys have come from behind on day 2. So is it better? Is there a benefit to being the hunter on day 2 rather than the hunted, the team on top?
I mean, it's mentally easier to shoot for sure. You just look at how many golf tournaments like the leader going into the last day doesn't win. I mean, I think it's easier from a mental standpoint and of feeling maybe less pressure. But obviously, statistically, you'd rather be leading than not. So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, I don't think we would go into a championships and be like, oh, I hope we're not winning after day 1. But once you get there, it's a situation that you can deal with. I think I've always valued air rifle to be strong because it is on that second day. It's you have to sleep on it one way or the other, and we go through our whole season shooting a match in one day. And then we shoot our conference championships and NCAAs in a 2-day format. So it's just different. You've got to prepare for that a little bit. I mean, I'd like to have a really good small board day one of these years and also have good air rifle. But yeah, it's a different mentality, but I think it's definitely easier mentally when you don't feel like you're being the hunted. So
Did you sleep well the night before the second match?
I mean, no better than I did the day before. I think at that point it's like, okay, we're closer to the end. We're in with a. I mean, the worst feeling is feeling like you're out of it going into day 2, and so it was like, we don't love that we're tied for 4th, but we were right in it and 3 points off the lead, and I think we definitely felt confident with air rifle that we had as good a chance as anyone to win it the next day.
The mentality there on day 2 as well, how much of that is having the mental strength either not to look at the scoreboard, or if you do peek at the scoreboard, don't overreact to whatever it says, good or bad?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there wasn't too many scoreboards in the arena this time, so it was easy to not look at it. I mean, they most of them they kind of know the situation, but yes, like there's a lot of training of just focusing on yourself, trying to be present. I don't think that the girls on the second relay necessarily had a good idea of how the first relay had gone, and they also were kind of just in their own world and focused on what they had to do. Both of those two are a lot older. I mean, they're a freshman and sophomore in school, but they're both 23 years or 23, 24. So they're experienced competitors, and I think they knew what to do for that last match.
Did you get a text or a message from Ed Etzel? Did he?
I did, yeah.
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 What did he have to say?
I can't remember exactly, but just, said congrats and, sent me a link of an article. And so, yeah, Ed likes to check in, and he usually comes to a couple matches, throughout the year as well. So it was always nice to hear from him.
Thanks, Coach.